Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Almost afternoon. Happy Tuesday, my friends. It's cold. It is very cold out today. There was a few flakes, a few snowflakes. They have gone, but there was a few snowflakes today, and I was like, "Oh no, go away! I'm not with the snow thing." But more importantly, happy Veterans Day. Um, Veterans Day has an interesting history behind it, but if it weren't for them, we wouldn't have the freedom to speak the truth, even if people don't want to hear it and they don't like it. We wouldn't have that freedom if they didn't make the ultimate sacrifice for our country and the people in it so that we could have the freedoms that the Constitution brings us. And so we say Happy Veterans Day to all of our vets. We appreciate you. We love you. And we need to do better by our vets because the way they're treated in this country when they're no longer useful is not right, right? We need to do better by them because they took large sacrifices in their lives and with their families for us to have our freedoms. And so sometimes I feel like I shouldn't see a single vet that's homeless, in a wheelchair, in the middle of Boston or Brockton or anywhere else here in Massachusetts or anywhere else in the country that doesn't have housing or food or the mental health treatment that they need. These are things that should be right away. They should be offered constantly. And the bureaucratic red tape that surrounds it for them to get it is the biggest problem, as we all know. So we need to think about trying to do better by them because they made the ultimate sacrifice for us. You know, they gave up years of their lives to serve away from their families and their loved ones, and they put their lives on hold so that we could continue ours. And too much of that, I think, is taken for granted. Now, if you know the difference between, hello, Veterans Day, which is today, right? There's a whole history. First of all, Veterans Day wasn't even called Veterans Day at first. It was Armistice Day. It was in November, I think, of 1919. And it was President Wilson, right, that proclaimed it Armistice Day. And I pulled up the quote. Right? Okay, here's the quote. To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride and the heroism of those who died in the country's service, and with gratitude for the victory, both because of the thing from which it had freed us and because of the opportunity it has given America to show her sympathy with peace and justice in the councils of the nations. That was back in 1919. They changed the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day at some point. Hi, Becca. And in 1930, oh God, I have to look, 30 something, hold on, 38. May 13th, 1938, made the 11th of November in each year a legal holiday. Yep. A day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be thereafter celebrated and known as, quote, Armistice Day, was primarily a day set aside to honor veterans of World War I. But in 1954, after World War II, it required the greatest mobilization of soldiers we had ever seen at that point. The 83rd Congress, at the urging of veterans services, amended the 1938 Act by striking out the word armistice and inserting it in its place the word veterans. Right, so they changed it in 1954 to Veterans Day. On June 1st, 1954, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars, right, which is amazing. And since then, it's been Veterans Day, right? back in 1968, there was a uniform holiday bill, Public Law 90-363, was signed on June 28, 1968, and was intended to ensure 3-day weekends for federal employees by celebrating 4 national holidays on Mondays: Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and Columbus Day. So it was on Mondays at some point, right? Because I said, oh God, I could have sworn to God it was on a freaking Monday, right? I could have sworn to God Veterans Day was on a Monday, right? And somebody's like, it was. And I'm like, I thought it was. Well, it's on Tuesday now. You know what I mean? But now it's just by the 11th. So whatever day the 11th falls on is. But in 1968, the whole point was to give them like a 3-day weekend, you know, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Monday off. And it was supposed to be the 4 holidays on Mondays: Washington's birthday, Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and Columbus Day. It was thought that the extended weekends would encourage travel, recreational and cultural activities, and stimulate greater industrial and commercial production. Many states did not agree with that decision and continued to celebrate the holiday on their original dates, right? And then in 1971, the first Veterans Day under the new law was observed with confusion on October 25th, 1971. And it says here that it was apparent that the commemoration of this day was a matter of historic and patriotic significance to a great number of our citizens. And so on September 20th, 1975, President Ford signed a Public Law 94-97, which returned the annual observation of Veterans Day to its original date of November 11th, beginning in 1978. So it was because people kind of made a stink, and we're like, wait a second, no, October 25th, that's not Veterans Day, right? It's November 11th. Like that's it. That's the day. Hold on, guys. Sorry. My little's home today. It's Veterans Day, obviously, so they don't have school. My husband has a day off too, though. I don't know how many of you had the day off just because it was your day off, like my husband, or if it's because it's a holiday. But you guys still call it that. See, someone else said that to me, where in other countries they still call it that, which is funny. Because it's been Veterans Day, I feel like forever, as long as I've been alive. But there's a difference between Veterans Day, Memorial Day. People get them confused. Veterans Day is for all service members, living or past, and Memorial Day is for the ones who have passed, right? So there's a difference in Memorial Day versus Veterans Day, because I've heard a lot of people asking, what's the difference? There is a difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Hey, Emily. Yeah, we got a couple flakes. We got a couple flakes of snow. We did. We did. But they just dissipated. There was like maybe 4 or 5, came down for like a minute, and then it stopped. And I was like, okay, well, keep your snow. We don't want it. I don't want it. No one wants it. We don't want it. Take all your freaking snow back. Not about that cold, man. I'm not about that cold. I don't want it. I don't need it. My knees hurt enough as it is. You get that cold, and then poof, starts to be a problem. So I find it weird, though, because the kids obviously have the day off, right? And then they go back to school tomorrow. So it's like November is a weird month for the kids, for school, because they have so many random days off or half days. And then, you know, we have Thanksgiving, so they have Thanksgiving break around Thanksgiving, and they have they're lucky. They have a lot of days off. I heard they were extending, I don't know if it was winter break or April vacation this year, but I could have sworn to God that when I was a kid, April vacation was almost 2 weeks, or was 2 weeks. And then it got like lowered over time or something, that it was only a week. I can't remember which one it was, whether it was winter break or I feel like I want to say that I thought it was April vacation that was 2 weeks, and then sometime over time went down. Remembrance Sunday was observed in UK this past Sunday. We call it Remembrance Day or Armistice Day in Canada, but we are a Commonwealth country. See, that's interesting. See, other people call it that. It's Veterans Day here, obviously, since 1970. Well, one is when they type of thing, but it was to be applied by 1978. So it does. It absolutely does. War, I feel like, is inevitable. You know, it's inevitable. People are going to argue. It's like a large scale argument, right? Between countries, it's a large scale argument, and it turns violent. But I just don't. I feel like there's better ways that we could resolve this. How many lives have been lost in these wars, and for what? I know a lot of the veterans from the 9/11 era and on from there feel like a lot of their work was for nothing. And I can't blame them for feeling that way. All of the work that they put in to sort of make a country fair, equitable, was gone within mere minutes. And that's unfortunate, you know, because they put in decades of work, build buildings and make it so women could go to school, and all of that was gone in a very short period of time. And I know there was a lot of emotion surrounding that when it happened. I remember just sitting there, you know, my in-laws are veterans, and I think about all the people that I know, friends that are veterans, men and women, and what they told me about their, you know, all that they did and all that they feel after the pullout. That's awful. That's terrible. MIA is probably one of the worst things. I feel like the not knowing, I feel like, is just the worst part. You know, at least if you know, then you know, right? Oh, that is depressing. That is depressing. And I bet he is, you know, Iraq, Afghanistan, they saw some pretty crazy stuff over there. Things that you would probably never want to imagine in your wildest dreams. But they also saw some amazing things, amazing human connection, you know, trying to help kids, you know, and then they did all this work and tried to make it better for everyone. And within days, minutes, hours, all of that was destroyed. The people that they worked hand in hand with, that helped them, that were from that country, those countries, were killed or hunted down. And they couldn't do anything about it. Again, bureaucracy is a bitch. But imagine a war came to our country at some point, right? And the people who came to help us, we helped them. And then they, years or decades later, left. They just left right away. We're now in danger, right? We're now in serious peril, and our families are. We're targets. And they didn't bring us. They just left us there to hide and fend for ourselves. And that's just horrible. The people that over there were extremely brave to stand up and help. And then we left a lot of them behind unnecessarily. And we left them, the ones that did survive, in years or months of bureaucratic red tape that would keep them there and their families in danger if they could even make it out. That could have been avoided. You're asking for birth certificates and social security cards. I get why, right? I get why you want to stop people from pretending that they're X, Y, or Z and that they want to come in. But if they say, hey, I work with Commander so-and-so, Chief what's it, and, you know, Sergeant who's he not, go ask Sergeant who's he not if this is the person, right? I mean, obviously a lot of the things like birth certificates or whatever their version of social security cards or identification is they're going to get lost, maybe blown up, you know, stolen. That's just not feasible when you're talking about a country that is war ravaged, right? And so the people that helped us there should have been instantly allowed to get on the planes with our veterans and leave. And the problem was making it to the airport. That was another problem. They were stopped at roadblocks, and there was a lot of things going on, but there were other ways that we could have helped them. And I feel like we failed as a country, not for a lack of any of us wanting it to. There's nothing any of us could have done, but the bureaucratic red tape that stopped those people that bravely helped American soldiers, some of them are gone now because we couldn't fucking figure out how to get them here without bureaucratic red tape. And that's unfortunate. And I will tell you that has a large effect on our veterans here who served with those people, because they then feel like it's called survivor's guilt, right? They then feel like they failed those people that they became close, almost like family with, who helped them stay safe, right, over there and helped them get back home. And in turn, there's nothing our soldiers could do to help them get here faster because it's above their pay grade, right? But they're survivors. And so survivor's guilt's a real thing. If those people don't make it out, if that family doesn't make it out, what do you think the soldier that sat and had dinner with them, feels like? Or that was their translator, or that, you know what I'm saying? That was their source to know that, hey, there's a roadblock here and, you're going to get shot here. And to stop that and to have them come home safe and leave those people behind is an extreme burden to put on their shoulders. One that they should never have had put on their shoulders, That's horrible. I mean, there are a couple instances of something like that, but very little instances, at least recorded instances that we have that. A lot of the interpreters and stuff, unfortunately, were killed after we left. And it's unfortunate. I'm sure that there are people who tried to get in to be an interpreter who were had bad intentions. And obviously maybe that person was one of them, Holly. But the amount of lives lost, it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. The toll of war just never ends. It never ends, right? Never, ever ends. It's unfortunate, and I feel like we can do better by our veterans here, though. Like we got to help how we can help them here, And at least living in Massachusetts, there are far too many veterans that we have that are homeless or without housing. Why? Well, mostly red tape, bureaucratic red tape. A lot of the time the VA is extremely slow in getting them the help or care that they need, and they want you to jump through 75 more hoops than any normal person would have to jump through. That's the problem. They have to jump through more hoops to get basic care or housing or benefits than a normal citizen would. That should never happen, right? That should never happen. But that's our VA system, which, again, run by the government, turns into a bureaucratic red tape mess, for sure. Oh, that's so sad. That makes me sad for his heart, that he feels that way. That's terrible. Ugh, gross. Sorry, guys. 101. Good for him. Good for him. Who make it to 101? Can any of you imagine making it until 101? I mean, geez. Good for him. I had, one of my friends has, dad is 101. And I was like, damn. Oh, sorry, maybe it was a grandfather, not dad, grandfather. And I'm like, 101. Good for him. 101. Her grandfather, 101. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I guess I'd have to give up coffee. That's what I said. I think the oldest person, let's see, I think it was like 118 or something. Let me see. All right. Verified oldest people. 122 years old from France was the oldest person. The place of death or residence, it says France. Her birth date is February 21st, 1875. And death date was August 4th, 1997. It was 122 years and 164 days. That is crazy. And then the next person was from Japan, Kane Tanaga. Birth date was 1903, January 2nd, 1903, and his death date was April 19th, 2022. It was 119 years, 107 days. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I want if I pass, I want to be frozen. I don't want to be put in a coffin. I don't want to be cremated. I want to be frozen. I want to be frozen cryogenically. So then in 1,000 years, when they figure out how to make our hearts young and our bodies young again, maybe then I can be unfrozen and they can fix me, and then I can see what the future is like in 1,000 years. That'd be kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. If you think about that for a second, right? I guess it depends on what age you pass away, but if they could come up with some thing in the future, whether it's 200 years, 500 years, or 1,000 years from now, where you can switch your consciousness from body to body, or they can figure out how to make your organs work forever or whatever, right? I would like to see what it looks like in 1,000 years from now, or 500 years from now, or 300 years from now. Cryogenically freeze me and bring me back when it's scientifically possible to do so. That would be kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. The next person was 119 years and 97 days from the United States. Sarah Noss. I remember her name. She died in 1999. She was born in 1880 and died in 1999. And then Lucille Randin from France was 118 years old, and she died in 2023. And she was born in 1904. 1904. Yep, like number 10. That's right, Ted Williams. I think Ted Williams only froze his head, though. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was only his head, if I remember correctly. I mean, who knows? Some of these people I heard were walking around till the day they died. I don't know. Then you have 117 years old. 117 years old from Japan. Then Canada, 117 years old, died in 1998, was born in 1880. And then Violet Brown from Jamaica was 117 as well. She died in 2017 and was born in the 1900. Oh yeah, Walt Disney. I forgot about that. I forgot about Walt Disney. Good call. Emma Morano, 1899, and died in 2017 with 117 years old as well, from Italy. And Maria Brañas from Spain, 117, died in 2024. She was born in 1907, right? Chio Miyako, born 1901, died in 2018, was 117. A lot of 117s. And there was two more 117s. One from the United States, Delphia Walford. She was born in 1875 and died in 1992. And then Misao Okawa, 1898 and died in 2015, was 117. That is so crazy. And then it goes down 116, 116, 116, 116, 116, 116, 116, 116, 100. A bunch of 116s. Like there's like 30 of them from all over. Poland, Spain, United Kingdom, Italy, United States, France, Japan, Brazil, United States, Brazil, Ecuador, Brazil, Japan, United States, Japan, Spain, Poland, Italy, United States. That was it. There's a lot. I mean, imagine 115, and it goes all the way down, 114, and there's a bunch for each one. It stops at 111. Yeah, 111. Imagine though, 122. What was the top one? What did I say? 122. So 3 years longer than the oldest one, which at that point, yeah, 122. So the oldest person before this Jean Calment from France, she was 122, was Kane Tanaka, and Sarah Noss were both 119. 119 years on this earth, or 122. So she lived 3 years longer than the oldest person at that point. 122 years old. Imagine that. I mean, they did something recently on this guy whose birthday, he was like 105 or something, and he apparently was walking to and from work still at 105. All right, walking, and he wasn't like, like tiny slow steps. Like he was still walking and like totally okay. That's crazy. That is crazy to me. That's insane. Can you imagine? That's nuts. There's a lot. Wow. Yeah, wow. Walt Disney. I totally forgot about Walt Disney. Now that you say that. How many people, when they pass, want to be frozen besides me? Am I the only one? Many people are like, no, I want to be cremated. I'm like, no, I want to be frozen. Freeze me. Freeze me. And other people are like, no, I don't want to be cremated. I want to just be in the earth. I want to be with the earth. Be one with the earth. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. I think Ted Williams, though, was only his head. Let me see. I'm going to look. Okay. Ted Williams. Hal Finney, the Bitcoin pioneer, was frozen. Dick Clare, he was a cryonics advocate. Transhumanist thinker. FM 2030. John Henry Williams. It was his son's decision, I guess. Peter Eckersley, he's an AI ethics guy. The cryogenics founder. James Bedford was the first person who was cryopreserved. Interesting. Doomsday device? No, you want to be ashes. I'm half frozen. I mean, true that. In New England, it gets awfully freaking cold, and I am not a fan of the cold. Turn me into a doomsday device in case the aliens invade. The evil laugh, I'm not going to lie, would be pretty funny. Just, and then kaboom. Oh my God, you are too funny. You are too funny. Oh, I've heard people say this before. Like, smoke, just, roll me up and smoke me if you, like, I don't smoke weed, but some people don't care. They leave it up to their families, like you're saying, like leave it up to the family. It depends on what they can afford, blah, blah, blah. I know that if I want to be frozen, I'd have to leave the money for that. Oh my God, imagine I'm back. Just, I mean, you have to think, has anybody ever thought about that though? Like, speaking of aliens, right? Have you ever thought about whether there's life outside of Earth? I've thought about it, right? There can't, if you think about it, in all the galaxy, right? And we've only done like this much space exploration because it would take hundreds, if not thousands of years to get to other galaxies, right? But there can't be just one planet with any sort of life forms. I mean, maybe there's a galaxy far, far away, right? Very far, where we can't get to. And maybe there's a whole nother planet of people like us, but they're so far away that we would never know they existed. It's impossible to me, right, for us to be the only life forms in the universe. That would just be impossible in my brain for us to be the only people. We can't go fast enough, which is why they came up with the cryonics thing, right? Which is why in sci-fi you see them being like, cryogenically frozen in the ship and then unfrozen in like 300 years. There's the Jetsons. That's true. Meet the Jetsons. It is, in my mind, it's impossible for us to be the only people or life forms of any kind in the entire universe. But, I mean, we can't go fast enough. That's the problem, right? But that's why you see this interest in cryonics and seeing whether they can figure out how they can lower the body's temperature enough to keep you asleep but alive for many, many years. I mean, do you guys remember when they cloned the first thing? Like way, way, way back. Do you guys remember? Like way long ago when they were like, we're going to be able to clone things in the future. And people were like, clone, stop it. That's sci-fi, right? And then science figured it out. The scientists actually figured out how to clone things. And they started cloning things, right? Django Fett. I remember all that, right? So, and I'm not that old. I'll be 39 this month. I'm old, but not that old. So I remember back now cloning, that's crazy, right? And when I was little, they were just it was a sheep. It was a sheep. It absolutely was a sheep. They were just figuring out like rolling out the kinks and how to clone things, right? And then there was this whole argument about ethics and whether it would be ethical to try to clone animals and then try to clone a human and, all this crazy stuff, right? But ultimately, they did learn how to clone animals. And there are some scientists that went to other countries because the ethics here in the United States would not allow them to try to clone a human, basically, right? And yeah, now we have AI, right? And now, so we went from that to now we have freaking AI. And I mean, all the movies back in the day that were like, AI can turn bad, right? If it gets a conscious of its own and starts doing crazy stuff, we may be in for a serious issue if everything is technology based, right? Everything you use at this point is technology based. Oh my God, South Park. Could have been grafting or cloning. Cloning went wrong a couple times, So it says that, Ted Williams, of course, was top of this. Famous. They're frozen in liquid nitrogen, it says. It says, as of 2023, over 500 bodies and heads have been cryopreserved. It says at this rate, it's evident that many people are gradually embracing the idea more than before. James Hiram Bedford, he was one of the cryonics guys. So Ted Williams was 83 years old. Let's see. Cardiomyopathy and later died of cardiac arrest. In July of 2002, he was 83. It was his will for his body to be cremated and his ashes scattered in the Florida Keys. However, his kids chose to have his remains frozen cryonically. Interesting. That is interesting. I love that. Yeah, I think it was just his head, right? It doesn't say right here, but I could have sworn to God it was something that they said it was just his head, right? So John Williams was the son of Ted Williams, and he died at 35 years old, and they froze him. He had a bone marrow transplant from his donor was his sister, but he passed anyway in 2004, and he was only 35. And now he's cryopreserved there, as at the same place as well. Nice to see you, Jack. But think about like all the crazy things that we thought weren't possible way back in the day. Yeah, I remember something about it just being his head, or maybe they separated it from the body, like you're saying. I can't remember, but I do remember it just being like, oh, well, they froze his head, you know? Girl, you could say that again. There never is a dull moment, that's for sure. Never, ever. Walt Disney came, I think, long before that, you know? Let's see if I can see where. Yeah, his head was cryogenically preserved after his death in 2002. So they separated his head from his body, and they stored them both, but separate, which is weird. I don't know why they didn't just do one. So weird. Has anybody ever seen Futurama, where they put like Nixon's head in the like water solution? I feel like that's what you're gonna see in the future, is like someone's head and then like a robot body of some sorts. A robot body of some sorts. That's how sci-fi it gets. But if you think about all the things that were not possible and that were only like sci-fi back in the day that are now reality, think about what they could do in 200 years. Yeah, like on Wednesday. Oh my God, imagine in like 300 years just waking up as a head. That'd be so strange. I would immediately be looking for a body, obviously. If I woke up as a head, I would be like, I would freak out, like, where's my body? Futurama is hilarious, and everybody should watch it. Hulu has it. I don't know if they're like still doing new episodes, but they were doing Futurama has come back from the dead itself 3 or maybe 4 times. I think it's 3, but it has been revived multiple times because it should have never been off air anyway. Futurama, hilarious. I also like American Dad and Family Guy, but hey, what do I know? Hold on a second, guys. I'm looking at something real quick. Futurama is hilarious. I don't know if you haven't seen it, you should. It is funny. But if you think about all the sci-fi type stuff when we were younger that we didn't think would be possible, cartoons should never. Is anybody else nostalgic watching of cartoons from when you were a kid? Because I watch 80s and 90s cartoons all the time. The nostalgia is great, and my kids now know those cartoons and they like them. So there's that. I mean, I don't think it gets any better than the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s cartoons. Really. I didn't even talk about donations yet, and Jack is on the ball here. Jack sends 1377 and says, "Truth talk. Appreciate you, my friend. If anybody else would like to donate to the channel, we would very much appreciate it. We only rely on donations from all of you. We wouldn't have this freedom to speak truth or talk about, all sorts of random off-topic stuff here on a large platform, on multiple platforms, if it wasn't for our veterans, So thank you, Jack, for that truth bomb. We appreciate you, my friend. We always appreciate any and all donations to the channel, because if it's not for you guys, I can't keep this show going. So I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you very, very much. All right. Oh my God. I was watching the other day. Okay. I was watching my daughter. I was showing her like the older Looney Tunes because they have like the newer Looney Tunes ones from like HBO Max or whatever. Showing me the older ones, and I did exactly that. I caught one of the jokes from that I wouldn't have understood as a kid, and I was like, "Oh my God, that is hilarious!" The way adults just stick those jokes, but you can't do that nowadays. You can't do that nowadays. The parents get all up in arms and act ridiculous and crazy. But they made it fun for kids and adults back then, right? The cartoons were for both, right? A little bit of adult humor, a little bit of kids humor. Also, nowadays, you can't have cartoons that are like hitting each other with hammers and mallets and, the good old Looney Tune stuff and meep, meep, you can't have all that. Can you imagine what people would do now if TNT was blowing up a character or he was getting hit by a train or a bus every episode? Oh my God, people would have a meltdown. It's too violent. We're showing kids. Oh my God. The Muppets Christmas Carol, I feel like my sisters watched over and over and over, and I was older than them. So that how many times I had to sit through a Muppets Christmas Carol. I will never forget that movie. Or Muppets Treasure Island. That one I will also never forget. Those two they watched so many freaking times that I could probably recite all the words from it. But they also had Muppets for adults. Do you remember when they started having the Muppet Show way back when? And then it was Muppets Now, I believe it was called. And then recently, just a few years back or 10 years back, whatever it was, 8 years, 7 years, whatever, they had a more adult version of the Muppets. But the Muppets are something that just like are never going to, Jim Henson. Did anybody see the documentary on Jim Henson? I watched it and it was sad, but at the same time, it was very cool to see like who he was as a person while he was creating this sort of out of this world, not thought of world of things like Sesame Street and the Muppets. You know what I mean? Like using these Muppets or puppets per se that were larger. You know what I mean? To me, that was such a crazy idea back then, right? But it was his idea and he made it come to life. And then it was super popular, right? And we're still talking about it now. So what's that tell you? You know what I mean? The guy had a dream and he made it come true. And the way his kids talk about how proud he was of it. I remember hearing about the Muppets, like where they made all the different Muppets. They had a specific name for it. It was like the something factory, and that's where they made all the Muppets. I forget what it's called. Let me see. Where they made the Muppets. It was like open and you can watch them. Like Muppet Workshop, yeah, but then it was changed into something else. It wasn't just the Muppet Workshop. Muppet Babies. Oh, I used to love the Muppet Babies when I was a kid. You never saw Nanny's face, though. You only saw Nanny's legs. Only saw Nanny's legs. You didn't get to see Nanny's face. I remember when they came out with Muppet Vision 3D or something like that. We saw in the movie theaters with my sister. Yeah, the Muppet Treasure Island, Christmas Carol, Muppets in Space, very merry Muppet Christmas movie, Muppets Wizard of Oz, Muppets Most Wanted. So crazy. Let's see. The Great Muppet Caper, Muppets Take Manhattan. Yeah, Disney acquired it in the 2000s, the Jim Henson Company. I'm trying to see design and performance. Oh, I loved Bert and Ernie on Sesame Street. So Ralph the dog and Bert and Ernie, Grover and the Cookie Monster were designed by one person, funny enough. I used to love Gonzo. He was my favorite. Gonzo was just wacky and out there, and so he was my favorite. Who's your favorite Muppet? I'm going to have a favorite Muppet. Also the chef, right? The chef. Chef has got to be one of my favorite Muppets, along with, let's see, this one here. This one there. Oh my God, that would be so cool. Muppet. I loved Muppet Babies. I did. I loved the Muppet Babies when I was younger. Oh, those would be so cool. Do you remember when they used to have the glasses? They would come out with, like, I mean, let's be honest, right? The toys from like McDonald's or Burger King when we were kids, far better when they have now. Does anybody remember when they had like the French fries, the cheeseburger, and the chicken nuggets, and they were Transformers, and they transformed into, like, they don't make the toys like that anymore. Really, it's just like a stuffy that has like a thing you can put on a backpack, or a standalone thing that you crank the thing and it, twirls around. They're very, or like a little figure that does absolutely nothing. I mean, the toys were far better when we were kids, for sure. Do you remember when they came out with the mini Beanie Baby collection? People went wild for the mini teeny Beanie Babies from McDonald's. People went nuts for those. Absolutely nuts. You like Kermit? It is hard to pick a favorite Muppet, but I at least have two, right? Gonzo and then the chef. I feel like people forget the chef, or Beaker. I mean, Beaker is adorable. Come on. You have all the teeny Beanie Babies? I love that. I love that. We used to have all the glasses, but over time they broke. My mom, I think, or maybe it was my grandmother, bought the glasses, and they had bowls at some point, and they had like Disney plates at one point that you could buy at McDonald's, Animal. Yeah, Animal's a pretty good one too. Animal. Fozzie is very lovable. He's just a lovable bear. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a lovable bear. I love when Piggy calls him Kermit. Kermit the frog here. So remember, the toys were quality. They were extremely good quality. Yeah, the Swedish Chef. Yeah, he was one of my favorites. He didn't talk, but he was funny, Let me see if I can find. I'm going to strike for this, but I don't care because it's Veterans Day and we're just having fun today. You know what I mean? There's no rhyme or reason for today's show. We're just doing it. Like, we're just talking about whatever because we can. Because we can. We're just having fun with it today. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Still in the packages. I love it. Yeah. Have to think about over time how, Yeah. Okay, wait. Here we go. Here's one. Oh, there's a compilation of the Swedish Chef. Let me see. See if I can. I'm going to get a strike for this, but I really don't care. So for further reference, don't send a super chat or a super sticker because I'd have to fight them for the money. They'll send it to the people who have the rights to this specific clip I'm going to put on. But if you'd like to do a donation, I suggest you do it a different way. That way your money's not, I don't have to fight for it. Why isn't it popping up? Okay. If you don't remember the Swedish Chef, I mean, come on, this guy was hilarious when I was a kid. Hilarious. I remember this one. How sad is that? And they had people underneath it pulling the thing to make their arms and legs and head move. Took sometimes two people. Oh my God, Ski.
Transport, ja, maar het is really hard. Die sturen de hoek en zeggen de vuur. En de flip takken de vuur.
Taking it.
De sfeer. Hier een vorige beurt heeft heard. Hey, get the blue in the bush and there's four in the beurt.
Can you imagine this being on TV now? No way. Right? Got a gun, God forbid. He was one of my favorites. Mort. Yeah.
Chocolate?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't me. Not compared to the things he does to other people for no real reason other than to be up the turtle's ass. No, it's not me.
Good chocolate. Or no, the moose. Moose.
I mean, if you see the documentary, you know that there's like 2 or 3 people underneath that one Muppet. Your favorites when Elmo made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Gotta love Elmo.
Stop!
Who's Kermit? Oh, Scooter and Skeeter.
Yeah, boy, scared, digging, or Mort. It's Gregor. It's big the hook, the sporn, the burn, the sleaze, the slice, the neepy knifey.
I think they're using real hands on this one.
The frog's legs.
Uncle
Kermit's nephew.
Somebody, anybody,
Kermit's nephew.
Don't say cut, say
Ye poor scare, mark for scare, do, maliska do. Ye poor
That is hysterical.
Therefore, work. Skidoo.
Like the explosions.
Yes, the sword, the cook, and taken. It's the
gun.
horde, the grief.
They would never allow that nowadays.
The scheme, the scourge, the who. It's the word.
See, at one point they decided to use like regular hands, as you can see, have them do certain things. And some of them, you had the puppet hands. Sometimes laughing. Oh, I probably. You can't get away with a lot of things now. Snuffleupagus! Gotta love Snuffleupagus. They took Snuffy out, didn't they? Take Snuffleupagus out of Sesame Street. He's gonna beat up the cake. They would never allow this now. Beating the cake with a bat. Oh, the chicken! Who remembers the chicken? Who remembers the chicken? Kermit! I remember the chicken.
It's very bird, the egg to ship. It's very the board, it's here the egg.
Even though you have no real clue, other than a few words, what he's saying, you're like,
I
I don't know. I feel like that's what they maybe how they got rid of it, but maybe thought that Snuffy was for everyone. Snuffleupagus was one of my favorites on Sesame Street.
It's very the big board. It's very
Snuffleupagus! Chicken's like, nah, I'm not having this. I wonder if we get to see. Oh, the 2 old guys on the balcony. Supposed to be like Ebert and Rover, basically. Those guys were hilarious.
Hey there, the egg dish up. You're going to chicky dish up. Yeah?
He's like, screw the egg, I'm gonna make chicken. See, we could never get this nowadays. Now he's gonna chase the chicken with the... We would never get that now.
Hey, let's sneak out and have a pizza.
Those guys. You guys remember those guys? Hilarious. Oh, the vegetables. I remember that with the vegetables.
Hey, well, why don't we chef sends out for
Statler
pizza or something?
Waldorf. Gotta love the chef, dude. And they change his look over time. Yeah, the chicken. I remember the chicken. Oh, is it tortoise? They were never. Yeah, there's chicken again.
Now we skewer the turkey.
Skewer. You could only understand a few words that the guy was saying, but it was funny nonetheless. When I was a kid, used to love it. You would know his little beginning dance and song, and then after that, you never knew what the Swedish Chef was going to do there. You know, pork. Yeah, that was a part everybody knew. Everybody knew that part. I love that, Jimbo. I love that. Yeah, the chickens loved Gonzo. Chickens loved. Those were his friends. Those were Gonzo's friends. Let me see what we got here. Gonzo the Great. Some Gonzo the Great moments. Let's see. Gonzo was hilarious too. And they had so many movies. I wish they would bring back you can't actually get Miss Piggy was hot. Can't actually get the Muppet Babies anywhere. Like the original Muppet Babies. I've looked, believe me, for when my kids were little, and you can't get them anywhere. Gonzo and Grover. Oh my God. Can you imagine those two characters actually hanging out and driving people insane? That would be hilarious. Gonzo the Great. Trying to see if there's any. Muppets in Space. I remember that one. They're only showing a compilation of like the beginning parts of Muppet Show tonight, which is one of the ones that I remember from when I was a kid too. I don't know if it was just replays, obviously, because it was made well before that, but still funny nonetheless. Grover, yeah. Grover was, he was a popular character. Oscar the Grouch. Miss Moss the Grouch. Love Oscar the Grouch. He was grouchy. Yep, Cookie Monster. Cookies.
Inspirational, celebrational.
It was Kirby. Gonzo. We would never get kabooms like that. Showing poor Gonzo's like all those compilations of every time he gets hit with it. I want to see his explosions from the cannon. Those were the best ones. When he just bungles the cannon. Stunt spectacular for Gonzo.
Brought to you by Bounty.
Hi! Welcome to the
monster.
party. Come on in.
Hi!
I want you to meet our entertainment for the party. The absolutely incredible and totally inexplicable Great Gonzo. Gonzo, what are you doing?
Balancing a pole on my head.
What's that on top of the pole?
Oh, it's a great white shark swimming in a bucket of finger paint.
A great white shark swimming in a bucket of finger paint. Isn't that dangerous?
Not as long as I don't get distracted.
Oh.
Hey, good looking.
Well, it's not that easy being clean, but luckily, we're ready. Gonzo, where's the shark?
I don't know. He'll turn up in the end.
But
Ooh, there's something you don't see every day.
you want to bet?
Now that's what I call trap and lock. Hey, Frog, bring it.
Brought to you by Bounty
Cute.
Paper Towels with Trap and Lock technology.
I
So you
can
can clean
imagine
the
they
mess.
probably made it for
with less.
The Muppet movie or
The
something.
Muppets on Blu-ray
The
combo
Muppets.
packs and DVD in stores now.
So funny. But those are classics. The Muppets, things like that. I let my kids have a little bit of all of the things when I was a kid. And some of them they love. Some of them they're like, I can't watch this, Mom's too old. And some of them they absolutely love and want more and more and more of, this cartoon, that cartoon. They like Cat Dog, okay? Looney Tunes. And the Angry Beavers is one of the favorites in this house. The Angry Beavers is a pretty good one. For the olders, they like Ren and Stimpy. Who doesn't like Ren and Stimpy? That was for its time. That was like the Family Guy, American Dad, Futurama of its time, if you think about it. All the adult type jokes in that, I am shocked they aired it back then. Because even back then, they had certain things that they were and weren't allowed to do on air. And I know that there were certain episodes in certain cartoons that they actually weren't allowed to air in certain countries. Even here in the US, there were some that they could not air, which is interesting, if you ask me. Cookie Monster is I think Cookie has to be lots of people's spirit animal. I mean, the man loves cookies. All right. Let me see if I can find a Cookie Monster one. Because he is the best. C is for cookie. I'll never forget that song as long as I live. And I think they switched from him like eating cookies all the time to trying to make it like healthy. Cookie Monster eating like vegetables or carrots. And I'm like, you're ruining it. Cookie Monster can only eat cookies, okay? You can only say cookie and then eat cookies, all right? Y'all are messing stuff up. You're messing stuff up. Let's see if I can find Cookie Monster for you. What we got? We got Cookie. Big Bird. Oh my God, the ABC song from Big Bird. That was like a lullaby. It was more like a lullaby, all right? That one would put me to sleep when I was a kid. He had such a voice that was soothing. Big Bird did.
Over here.
Over here.
Hello. Me so glad you're here today because this very special day, it's me first day of new job. Me, a baker. Yeah. And you know what me going to bake? Well, nothing here.
I feel this one coming,
So
Ski.
today, me going to bake, you guessed it, cookies. This the perfect job for me because me love cookies.
He loves cookies.
Baked any cookies, but that's okay because me got cookies.
I love Cat Dog.
Yeah, see, cookies.
Cat Dog was one of my favorites, along with the Angry
Kinds of
Beavers.
Cookies. Chocolate chip cookies and oatmeal raisin cookies. And cinnamon swirl cookies.
Oh, cinnamon swirl.
So
Can't do oatmeal raisin.
Me better
Nope.
stop making cookies.
Nope, cannot do it.
Me look up cookies, okay? Here we go. Cookies.
A is for apple.
Not cookies, but they pretty good. A, apple
Yes,
pie.
you are.
Oh,
A is for apple pie.
delicious, but it's not cookie. Oh,
Not cookie.
cowabunga!
Going to eat the book now.
Not bad, but not as tasty as the real thing. So now, me going to make some real cookies. All me need is a recipe from cookbook.
That you ate. Bookies! Bookies. He ate it. I don't know what to tell you. Your parents fucked up. Like, your parents fucked up.
Chip.
I think we all needed just a day of nonsensical nothingness,
Grandma, what
Nunya.
else? Coco.
We asked his grandma.
Coco. Hey, another delicious C word. Coco.
And I'm sorry you got some bad news. I've had a hell week myself, my friend. I feel you.
Yeah, okay.
Sending you
Keep
all
it
the
coming,
love.
Grandma. What other yummy C words me put in recipe? A cup of flour. Oh, yeah. Cup start with C. Me love.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about this. Yeah, he's third person.
Now, all we got to do is bake cookies. Yeah,
Oh,
look it
here's
up.
one with Telly. You guys
So
remember Telly?
Oh, look, Telly! Right full of cookies! Oh, boy.
Wait.
Whoa.
Don't eat those. Those are so I can talk about fast and slow.
What he said.
You see,
Fast and slow?
yeah. You see, I am going to eat one of those cookies very slowly.
Slowly?
And I'm gonna bet Cookie's gonna eat it fast.
This is slow. Watch how slowly I can eat this cookie.
You can see him take a piece of the cookie and drop it. Like, we were kids, we didn't know, you know? We didn't know. Dum. Right? You have to watch the middle part, Cookie.
Yes.
He's giving you hugs.
There.
Those
Now
are the
that
hugs.
was slow.
It sure was. You a professional?
No.
Professional.
Now, do you want to eat one of those cookies slowly?
Me? Me eat cookies slowly?
Yeah.
Hey, me give it try. Hey, every night, Saturday night with Cookie Monster. Here we go. Stand back. Here we go. Eat cookie slowly.
Nope.
Me know. Me will count to 10, and when me done counting, cookies will be done too. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's the silliest question me ever hear. Me right here.
Uh-huh. And where are the cookies?
Me wrong second ago. That's the silliest question me ever heard. Cookies not here, cookies there.
Exactly. See, wherever you are, you can say, I am here. Here is wherever you are, and something that is not where you are is there.
You finished? Mm-hmm. Okay, right now that all cleared up. Let us leave.
Now that's all cleared up.
Cookies, okay?
Okay, Cookie Monster.
Okay.
Now we'll go there.
Okay. Yeah. Boy, cookies.
Not yet, Cookie Monster.
Whoa.
We haven't finished
Oh, I'm
talking
sorry
about
to hear
here and
that.
there. I have another question I want to ask you.
You got to be kidding.
Cookie, please.
Okay, ask questions.
Thank you. Cookie Monster, where are the cookies?
Me not believe this. Cookies, Annette, are here, and me too here. Cookies and Cookie Monster here together at last, okay?
Yeah, I feel like he was a distressing
Okay.
Okay,
right,
now, where were
Kelly?
we before we came here?
This not really happening.
That's not really happening, says Cookie
Okay.
Monster.
Very good, Cookie Monster. Here is wherever we are, there is where we are not.
Terrific. Sensational. Now, we all finished, right?
No, Cookie. See, I want to explain here and there again, just to make sure it's clear.
Oh yeah, Cookie Monster's not gonna do that. He's just gonna eat the cookies. Yeah, see? He's gotta eat the cookies. Sorry. Trying to keep the Cookie Monster from the cookies,
Cookie
man.
bars. Oh,
Oh no.
like you.
It's nostalgia, my
Cookies in
friends.
this dish here in me hand. 6 cookies and me happy as can be.
Back then, somebody literally baked cookies for this.
Got 2 cookies and boy, me
They literally baked them for this.
for long days work.
Jim Henson
Baby.
literally,
Always remember just
see, if you watched
Oh,
way back,
goodbye.
they actually, the sets are made so that this, like, they're made up. So they make this big thing where the sets are high up so that it's at the bottom of where the camera would be, right? And then literally they get the people to get sort of under these boards to do the puppets, right? When you watch the documentary, you're like, they put a lot of work into it. They changed things over time, but it was pretty cool to see the way that Jim Henson put all of the energy that he did into the Muppets and then Sesame Street and all of the works really that he did, you know? But when you realize how they did these shows, you're like, wow, you would have never thought that they made like a platform basically. And then they put all of the things that like just saw like a farm scene, right? They put all the hay on top of that platform, and then they built what they needed on top of the platform. And they would put certain things in front of the puppets, and they would sort of go, the people would go back and forth in between where the puppets are and where they built these multiple platforms. They would walk, you know, one this way, one that way. So the puppets would be walking and moving. It was pretty cool to watch the documentary on how Jim Henson like put all of this together. And it took a lot of people, and a lot of time. I don't blame you, my friend. I don't blame you. Oh, that's awful. I'm sorry, Nunya. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, some people can be on hospice for years, though. It's unfortunate. And when you think about hospice, you think that, you know, it's like 24-hour care. And the problem with it is it's not 24-hour care. They send nurses in, or a nurse or nurses, depending, in for however many hours per day, and then the rest is the family. The family has to deal with the rest or hire someone to come in for the rest of the time. So it puts a lot of strain on the family, unfortunately, you know, hospice. But they want you to do, you know, if the person would rather be home, which my grandfather, he wanted to pass at home. He did not want to pass at the hospital. So he had hospice, but my grandmother was an RN. So thankfully, where another family might have had to hire another nurse, because there were nurses that came in, my grandmother was already an RN. So for the time that, you know, the hospice nurses weren't there, my grandmother already knew what she was doing, you know. And my grandfather was 64 when he passed of cancer. He had pancreatic cancer, and pancreatic cancer is a bitch. Sad. That's sad. I am sorry to hear that. My grandfather's cancer, they thought they got it all. And then about a month later, they said it had spread basically everywhere, and he had weeks to maybe months. He lived about 3 weeks and then he passed. And I was just from teenager to adult at that point. I was almost 18. My grandfather sadly never got to meet any of my children. My grandmother did, though. She met all of my children before she passed. She passed when my youngest was about a month old, so many years ago now, but I'm glad she at least met all of my children, because her grandbabies and great-grandbabies meant the world to her. And I'm glad that she got to experience all of that. She had COPD, and, you know, one time she said to me, well, the doctor said it would be fast. I said, what would be fast? She's like, when I pass. And I was like, why are we talking about this? She was like, well, because the doctor just told me that when it does happen, eventually it'll be quick, you know. And they weren't wrong. She was in the hospital maybe hours. She was had a breathing treatment. She had those before and gone home. At this time, she was not going home. And I got there maybe an hour before she passed, and she was only there for hours at that point. So it happened very, very quickly. But I had to like beg the hospital to give her more, because she kept trying to pull herself up out of the bed, and clearly like she was in pain and she was fighting like for her life. And that was a tough loss. You know, she was kind of like the glue for the family, and we didn't have a large family. So, you know, once she was gone, that was it, you know, matriarch. It's been many years. She was like a mom to me. That's, I think, why that one hit so hard, because my grandparents were more like parents to me. My dad, you know, died just a few years after my grandfather. So I think it was like 3, maybe 4 years total. 3 years later. So, you know, yeah, it's it's one of those things where you're just and even friends, some people will be like, oh, it's just a friend, you don't get bereavement when a friend dies from work or anything else like that. But you can have friends that are just like a sibling. My best was like my sibling, right? She's like my sister. And I remember when she passed, I got so many messages from people who reached out and were just like, I am so sorry, because they at least knew what she meant to me and what I meant to her. And it felt at least nice for people to acknowledge that it wasn't just a friend that passed away. That was the person that was like sewed to my left leg. Like this, she was like my left leg. Wherever I was, she was, and wherever she was, I was. And birthdays, holidays, all spent together with both of our families. If I didn't call my grandmother for like 3 or 4 days, she'd call my best friend and be like, I know you're with her. Let me talk to her. And that's as an adult. It's just one of those things where a loss, I feel like people don't understand how big it is to you because it might not be as big to them, right? 92, bless her soul. Bless her soul, 92. It is. It's like every day. Every day. You think about it every day. I think about my dad every day. The other day when I was at the laundromat, it was Sunday, and I was actually going to do a live stream last night, and then I got this wicked awful headache at like 6 o'clock ish, and at like 7:30, I was like, I'm gonna see if I can lay down and get rid of it, And I don't know. I think it was more like a stress headache. I kind of switched it for like this, stuffy nose that I got going now, but my head just felt like someone was like hitting it with a hammer. And I was like, I need to try to sleep this off before a live stream. And so I fell asleep, I think somewhere around 8 or 8:30. And I didn't wake up. And my husband didn't wake me up because he was like, no, she's got a headache. If she has to miss it, the live stream, she has to. And I think it feels like to me, it was probably maybe more of a stress headache than anything. But when I woke up, it was gone. Thank God. I haven't had a headache like that in a while. And I get migraines once in a blue moon, but when I get the migraines, I can't even see light, can't hear anything. It makes you feel nauseous. It's horrible. I feel like a pitch black room with no noise and no light. And that's hard to do at my house because the way my apartment is set up is weird. You have to go through my room to get to the kids' room. So they have to go through my room to get into their room. So there's going to be noise. You know what I mean? I feel like they are never the same. My grandmother lived a lot longer than my grandfather, obviously. Many, many, many years past him. And she never got over it. She never remarried. They were both in their 60s when he passed, early 60s. But nonetheless, that was her rock, And that was the one thing that when she passed, I could think was good, which was that she now got to reunite with my grandfather. And hopefully they're up there just looking down, That's all I can hope for. But I can hope that they're reunited with each other and they don't have to miss each other anymore, But I get it. Believe me, losing parents is awful. Girl, you got some good genes over there in that department. 98, damn. I guess get used to living a long life. You get some good genes. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're welcome. You hear my kid? Yeah, you got to tell them about your day or that you miss them. Anytime that we get a chance, I have a doctor's that's right near where my grandparents are buried. So anytime I get a chance and I get the ride over there, I'll try to stop there at the gravesite and say my piece, which always makes me feel a little bit better. Definitely makes me feel better, that's for sure. Just to be able to say what I need to say, Yeah, she's out there getting dressed. She can hear me talking. Thanks for the good genes, she said. OMG, I can't. Ridiculous. Oh my gosh, yes. Send me pictures. I want to see. Amazing. I mean, get ready to live a long life, my friend. That's what happens. It runs in the genes some days, whether, like for instance, my mother went gray early. Hence said gray. There are people in their 40s that aren't even gray yet. And I'm 38 and the front of my head is always gray. But if I dye it every 2 weeks, then you're going to, really F up your hair. My hair is already like half Spanish, half white. And so it does its own like poofing and it can't decide if it wants to be straight or wavy. Yesterday, the way my hair was yesterday, that's how it's like air dried. That's what it looks like. Air dried, it's just like not curly, but not straight. It's just like wavy, right? And then when it gets even more dry, it's like poof. So I have to do something with it, which is why I keep it up though, because when I don't, it gets hot and then it's on my neck, and I try to keep it up and away from my neck and keeping me from being hot. That's for sure. And I'm on a medication that for my liver, I was born with kind of a bum liver, and that gives me like hot and cold flashes. So that's not fun. So I keep my hair kind of off of my neck from that. But it's good that you have conversations. I'm telling you, I have to either straighten it or put something in it or put it up. Like right now, it's actually in a braid, and then that braid I put into a bun. That's what I did. It's like a long braid, and then I put it in a pony, and then I put it in a braid, and then I put it in a bun. So it's a braid bun at the moment because it's, not as heavy on my neck. Mine's not thick anymore. I lost like 50% of my thickness with long haul COVID, unfortunately, that I'll probably never get back. But nonetheless, it's still long. And so it can be very hot on the back of your neck. If you have long hair, But it does take me at least like 20, 25 minutes to straighten when I straighten it. I prefer to like curl it if I'm going to go out with like a curling wand. I just, from like here down, I'll do some really tight curls and then sort of brush through a little. You don't want to brush through too much or you ruin the entire curls, but brush through a little so that the curls sort of, are not as tight, but not wavy either. It looks really good when you do the whole head, but that also takes time. It's like 10 to 15 seconds each curl with your whole head, I am going to be doing my roots this week anyway. But still, the roots drive me nuts because if you don't keep up with them and you let them grow out like this, then guess what happens? Then you have to if I keep up with it, it's going to be like every 2 to 3 weeks. That's crazy. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing every 2 to 3 weeks. That'd kill your hair anyway. You know what I mean? Unless you're going to the salon every 2 to 3 weeks, which is just not an option. But I am going to do my roots at least for my birthday so that when I go out, all my roots are gone. And funny enough, it'll stop about like here-ish is where the gray will stop. Don't ask me why. It's the underneath. When I put my hair down, it's only like the underneath part. But I can thank my mother's genetics for that, Thanks, Mom, genetics. And of course, I don't have anything but I didn't have anything at that point, but my mom and mother was adopted. So we didn't really know what else would run in the family or what else to look out for because my mother was it. Right? My mother was adopted, so nothing else in the family is blood relation. So we have no clue, what certain things may or may not run in the family. So it's like, surprise, you have this health problem or that health problem that you didn't know to look out for. It is what it is. I did the DNA test years back, and I found some of my mom's biological siblings, both of her parents, unfortunately, had passed. One way back before I was even born in 83, I want to say. It was before 1986. And she had passed of pneumonia. That's what the record says, which makes no sense to me, but complications of pneumonia is what it says. I don't know what the hell that means, but back in the 80s, that's apparently what she passed away from. So it's not like it was like a known medical issue or whatever just complications from pneumonia. That was it. But seeing a picture of my mother's biological mother, I look just like my grandmother. I look just like my grandmother, literally. Oh my God. Dude, your grandparents are rock stars and they look like 30 years younger than they were. That's a fact. Rock stars. Look at them. Good for them. I see it. Good for them. Can I get some of those jeans? Damn. Can I get some of those jeans? I mean, I guess I lucked out in like the wrinkles department, right? I don't really have any wrinkles. Maybe a little crow's feet that are starting over here. But other than that, I wouldn't need any Botox or anything. Even if I could afford it, I wouldn't need any right now, which is nice, which is good. I appreciate it. But eventually, I am going to get wrinkles. Yeah, it ain't it. It's not it. It's not it, my friend. It's not it. It is not it. Let me see. What do we got for... So I did check. Oh, my husband has the same thing, and he's 3 years younger than me. But he's starting to get these, like, grays, these random grays in his beard. And I'm like, ooh, there's a big gray in there. Just let me get it. And he's like, nope. I'm like, let me dye it. He's like, nope. My husband's Irish. So his beard is red, but his hair is not. His hair is brown. But his beard is red because he's Irish. So in the wintertime, I remember somebody saying to me, but isn't your husband a redhead? And I'm like, he always has a hat on, usually when he's outside, whether it's a winter hat or like a baseball cap, like a literal baseball cap. He's a baseball guy. So I'm like, no, he's not a redhead. She's like, well, I just assumed because his beard is red. I'm like, his hair is brown. He's just very Irish. His whole family is Irish. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens, right? Early. It does. It happens early. But my husband has the same thing where, like, it'll be like 1 or 2 or 3, like, random long gray hairs in his beard. We do inherit a lot of what our mothers give us. And so I knew that if my mother went gray early, chances are I'm going to go gray early too. I wasn't happy with it, but I knew it would probably happen. 25%. Sometimes that's lowlights and highlights. So my little has like dark brown hair all the way until you get to like the ends of her hair. And then it's like a lighter brown. And I was actually just saying to her the other day when I was doing it for school, I was like, some people would kill to have highlights and lowlights, natural highlights and lowlights in their hair like that, girl. Like you have natural colors like that, you know? Yeah, my husband, when he was little, was a blonde, funny enough. He was blonde. And then over time, as he got a little older, it turned brown. So, but when he was a baby, he was a blonde. So I think that probably just happens with time and age anyway, you know? My little has this strip of freckles that goes from her cheeks over her nose, sort of, back onto her cheeks here. And I named my smallest after my best friend who passed away. My best friend passed away a few years before my little was born. And so she knew my other children, obviously, before she died. And she never met my little, but I gave my little her first name as my little's middle name. And it was just funny to me that she has that whole strip of freckles that looks exactly like my best friend who passed. She was Armenian, my best friend who passed. And so she had all these freckles that went from, her cheeks over her nose. And so she has the exact same sort of strip of freckles that we didn't really see those develop except over time as she got older. They certainly weren't there the day I named her. So it was just funny to see, like, how she almost had the exact same sort of strip of freckles that my best friend had that I named her after. Maybe it could be. I mean, people always used to ask me what I was to have such dark black hair, right? Because my mother was adopted, so I knew what I was told that I was, but you don't really know until you do, like the DNA stuff like I did. And when I got all the DNA, information back, it said I was Spanish, Portuguese, Irish, which I knew because my dad was Irish, Congolesian, West African. So I'm like, that must be where I get the dark hair from, because my sisters, they have brown hair, but my mother has black hair. And you don't usually see black, like you usually see brown, dark brown, but dark black the way I have it. It's usually like you only usually see it in Spanish or Asian cultures. You don't really see it in, extremely Irish people, this dark. And so I never knew where that sort of darkness of it came from when my mother has such dark black hair. And my mother's hair, funny enough, is curly. Like she had like these beautiful tight curls that I did not have. And so I'm like, dang, I wonder where I get it from. But then I got the DNA and it was like, you're Congolesian, West African, Spanish, Portuguese. And I'm like, that would probably be where I got the dark black hair from, right? Like that's where I got it from. But I always wondered, because people always used to ask me, is that my natural color? As if I dyed it black or something. And I'm like, no, this is it. This is my natural color. Like now I'll dye my roots to match the rest of my hair, but I don't have to dye the rest of my hair, just the roots. And so I just match the black with what my hair already is. And so I'm like, no, that's my natural color. You know what I mean? And I had wondered forever, as long as I was a kid, wondered, why is my hair so dark? Why is it so dark black? But then I figured it out after I got the sort of DNA test results. That's true. I don't mind being a little unique. My name is unique. Hair is unique. I'm unique in a way. Everybody's unique in their own way. I'm kind of a nerd, but at the same time, I played sports as a kid. I played soccer, I did cheerleading, volleyball, all the way from when I was about 6-ish. When my grandparents first got me into soccer and cheerleading, all the way through high school. So I played a lot of sports, even in the neighborhood we played. I remember when they repaved the street and when they redid our basketball court we had in the neighborhood, it was so much fun because we used to play street hockey. And when it's newly paved, there's no like bumps so we were so excited to get our roller skates and rollerblades on and play a game of street hockey on it. I just don't see kids doing that anymore. Like, you ever see kids in the middle of the street playing street hockey? You know what I mean? Like, my kids do, and the kids on the street next to us, the kids on the weekends will go outside and they'll be skateboarding, rollerblading, roller skating. They'll be playing stickball, basketball. And it's like, you don't see kids doing that anymore. And it's like, I get my kids out there to do it because we had so much fun as kids. Everything wasn't sit in front of technology, and I don't want them sitting in front of, computer screens all day. I want them doing something physical and having fun and using their imagination. And so they do, they do. And they have a freaking blast. They don't even want to come in. They're like, oh, do we have to go in? I'm like, yeah, it's 8:00, you guys. Like, it's time to come in, And we live on side streets, so there's not a ton of traffic. So the kids can just play. And we just, sit on the stairs or on the porch of my neighbor's house or in my yard because it faces that other street. And the kids play. They have a blast. We have a little basketball hoop out there for them, and we get the helmets going. If they want to use skateboards or roller skates, they have a freaking blast. About 6, 7 kids that have an absolute blast. And it's like, you just don't see that anymore. Even when we were trick-or-treating, there were certain areas there was just no kids in. When I was a kid, there was kids everywhere, all over the place. Like, there wasn't a street that you weren't going to see a mob of kids coming down the street to go trick-or-treating. Now it's like only certain neighborhoods, we had to walk pretty far down, like maybe 5 streets down to find where there was other kids. And then there was like 2 or 3 streets where there was like a ton of kids. But when I was a kid, it didn't matter what street it was in the neighborhood. There were just kids everywhere. All of Halloween, just kids all over the place. And it's like, where are all the kids? Where are all the kids? Are they not trick-or-treating anymore? Are they skipping trick-or-treating and only doing the trunk or treats? Like, I don't get it. Where are all the goddamn kids? I noticed a lot of people leave and go somewhere else, which makes sense, but then there should be kids in those other areas. You know what I mean? Right? I wanted this place specifically for the yard because it has a very large outdoor area, you know, and I loved that. We have a little fire pit that's built into the ground, and then there's a ton of yard. So yeah, see, I knew a lot of kids that played hockey. I played soccer, but I knew a lot of kids that played hockey. There was a rink right near where I grew up, and so they all loved to play hockey. Oh my God, we did so much stuff like that when we were kids. And then they made a skate park in our city, which was nice. But before that, that's what we had to do, right? We had to build our own ramps and stuff. we had to learn how to do it, you know? Yeah, see, that sucks, trunk or treating or Halloween parties. But I live in cities, you know, in cities. So where are all the kids in a city? You know, that makes more sense in a more rural area. But what about in cities? Where the hell are all the kids in the cities? You know what I'm saying? Like, where the freaking hell are they all? They're gone. They're just nowheresville. Like, they don't exist anymore. It's amazing these days how, like, you know, you look around, you're like, this is not like how it was when we were kids. You know, I want my kids to have that same, like, experience of being able to do the things that I did, or use their imagination, figure it out. You know what I mean? See, that's so strange to me. You didn't have any kids, not one knock all Halloween. Like, where are the kids? And you live closer to the city or in the city. So, like, where are the kids? I live in a city too. Where the hell are all the kids? You know? That's what we did. It was a basketball court, and we of course played basketball on it in our neighborhood, but we also did street hockey, rollerblading, like, you know, whatever on it, basically. We repurposed that thing to a million different things. It was a little side field in between like two houses, and it was just big enough for stickball. So we'd play stickball there, you know? Yeah, oh yeah, we used duct tape. We would use hockey sticks to make where the goal was going to be. We used anything, trash barrels, anything we could find to be like, okay, this is where the goal is, and it's got to be in between this and this, you know? A stick, here's this base, here's that base, you know? you use whatever's around you when you're a kid, you know? And those are some of the best memories, you know, when you're doing that stuff. And you don't want your kids' memories to be sitting in front of a tablet every day, all day, if they can help it, you know? That's for sure. That is for dang sure. Happy Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. We did a little bit of history of the Veterans Day at the beginning of the show because I thought it was important. How do I deal with it? I don't know. I just do, because it would cost a lot of money for me to keep up with it. And I just don't have it. You know what I mean? I can't. Mine does too. Every 2 weeks, that's what, I mean, to be honest, I thought about doing like a gray highlights instead. I think it looks terrible. I'm not a fan of my grays, obviously. I'm getting older, and I don't think any woman is a fan of getting older and getting grays, but I just don't have the money to spend to keep root touch-ups every 2 weeks, you know? I don't, or the time that it takes to do all that. I don't have either of those things. So I let them grow out a little, and then I'll cover them back up, you know? It's a lot of time and money, and it is what it is. Mine's underneath. So the problem is when I put my hair up, it's all you can see is the grays because they're underneath. And if I put my hair down, all you can see is like them poking out here, you know? It's a pain in the behind. I'm going to have to watch that. No evil versions. Hyde Park Ave. Oh my God, yes. Yes. I hung out a lot in that area when I got older. I had friends that lived over in Hyde Park, like the Milton Hyde Park line. And then I lived in East Dedham at some point. And so that was like the West Roxbury, East Dedham area. Believe you me, I know exactly what you're talking about, Jack. Silver Crown of Wisdom. I wish it was just Crown of Wisdom. That'd be amazing. Blend. You know, I thought about doing just like a blend, but then I'm like, you know, I don't know if I would like the whole thing that way. I feel like it's just so much easier to just cover the whole thing up and call it a day. The problem is if you have stubborn grays, and I have stubborn grays. So even if you saturate it with the stuff, sometimes there are some that just it won't take, and then you have to do them more than once, and that burns it kills your hair. And I have psoriasis on my scalp, so it's, you know, makes it even harder to want to do it more than once. It's, you know, yeah, you don't want them in their iPads, you know, you don't want them in their iPads 24/7. Yeah, I haven't been over there since I lived on Windermere Road, which is like a very large hill in Dorchester. The hill goes like straight up like this. I kid you not. It's like the worst. To walk up and down that thing in the wintertime is a nightmare, an absolute freaking nightmare. It's slippery and it's steep. It's like, I kid you not when I say it's like this. It's a steep, steep freaking road. A very steep, steep road. We've been here an hour, 43 minutes. If you would like to donate to the channel, there's a couple different ways you can do so, but we could definitely use the support and the help. We're a small channel. We only get our donations from you guys. We have no sponsors. We have no corporate backers, none of that. You know, today's stream is just kind of a chill one. You know, we wanted to do, obviously, Veterans Day, which we did at the beginning of the show, and say happy Veterans Day and how much our veterans are appreciated. Because they very much are, you know. And today, the way that we're able to speak truth is because they made sacrifices, right? We're able to have our freedom to speak truth because they chose to take the ultimate sacrifice for us and go and serve our country. We have now the option to speak truth, to uncover corruption or build independent media without the coverage of, without their courage, that wouldn't be a possibility, you know? So if you believe in freedom, not just to fight, but to speak, you drop a truth bomb, my friend, for the cause. Every donation is an honor to the show and to the heroes that helped make it so that I could be here and I could speak and you could speak. And those guys and women of our military are fearless. I wish I was as fearless as them. That's for sure. Maybe then I would have joined the military. But there's a bunch of different ways that you can donate to the show. We have CashApp, Venmo, PayPal, Revolut. Those are on the screen. And then we have our link, which is in the chat. It's also in the description of the video. If you click on the link up top, you can enter any amount you want. And you can remain anonymous on any of these, of course. And you can enter a note if you so choose. You can also get yourself a membership to the channel, be a member. I wish I was as fearless as them. I kid you not. Thanks, Jack. Jack sends 1123 and says, for cheering me up today. You know, I said yesterday, you know, I'm pretty good when it comes to helping other people and cheering them up, but I've had a real shit week. And sometimes I need you guys to cheer me up. And when I come here, you guys never fail to do that. You know, never fail to make me laugh or make me feel like it's hard as a small channel to keep pushing through, right? Because we're not a channel with 48,000 or 60,000 or 80,000 subscribers. So the money that's coming in is next to nothing because you're not getting, you know, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 views, right? So it's hard to keep up with the costs of a small channel and keep it running without losing. And this month has been even harder. You know, getting closer to Christmas, people don't want to spend as much money. I totally get it. So, but without you guys' help, I cease to exist, right? The channel ceases to exist. And I never want that to happen because We have a great community of people who look out for one another. And I find that to be something that you don't see a lot on YouTube as a whole. And I see a lot of times that the creators don't often interact or intermingle enough with their audience. And I think they lose out on relationships with people that they would have never met otherwise. I think they lose out on good information, good insight, good opinions, good information by not doing it. I get why they don't. I get why they only read super chats or super stickers. But at the same time, I'm just not that person that's willing to do those things just to have dollars come in. People are gonna donate if they appreciate the work, if they appreciate the community, if they want to be here, and they can, right? I don't want them to donate simply because they think that's the way to get their comment recognized. Because I recognize pretty much every comment I can. And, once you get bigger, it's almost impossible to get every comment. But you can slow it down and at least go through 40 or 50 and then let it go and do the same. You know what I mean? Like, there are ways to at least acknowledge a lot of them. And I see people don't choose to do that either. And again, I feel like they're missing a lot of great insight, relationships, information by not doing it. I think that's the point of a live stream. If you're doing a live stream, the point is also to talk and give information and, talk about whatever your audience wants to talk about, whatever you want to talk about, whatever in general. But it's also to interact with your audience. That's like kind of the point of it being a live stream and not a long form video. Well, that is what we did, right? That's exactly what we did. That was sacrifices. They were like sitting ducks, That's terrifying to think you're going to, get onto that beach and immediately be in the open. That's immediately be in the open. You got to think about, like, they knew that sacrifice that they were making at that point. They know the risks involved and they're still willing to do it. Those are some tough people. That's for damn sure. For damn sure. I never thought about going into the military. I had a daughter at that point, so it wasn't really an option for me. But I feel like maybe I would have if I didn't have a child. But at the same time, I thought my brother learned how to fly planes. My brother's a couple years younger than me. He lived in Florida. But he learned how to fly planes. And so I thought maybe the Air Force would be a place that I would want to go. Maybe I could fly helicopters or planes, or now it's like drones, now they're no manned drones at this point. But my brother, if he was going to go into the Air Force, I thought maybe I would do the same. Obviously that didn't happen. And I thought about that when I was like 14, maybe 15. And I also thought, well, it'll get me out of this shitty state in this crappy life in foster care at that point. And I was like, I'll be, have a way to make money and serve the country and hopefully be in the same branch as my brother. And I'm telling you, if an apocalypse ever happens, at least I know that my brother knows how to fly a plane. So he could steal a plane from basically anywhere if some random apocalypse happens and or people go crazy, and he can come fly from Florida to come get us, At least we have one person in the family who can fly something, which is pretty good. If an emergency ever, I also know there's a couple bunkers in case an emergency ever arises, but nowadays they've gotten rid of all the old school Cold War bunkers that they used to have, which used to be under like schools and city halls, and they used to have these. Sometimes they still have the bunkers, but they're not equipped with anything, But there's one actually in Canada that there was a man, he is now passed, but his family sort of keeps his newsletter, the bunker thing going. And he buried, God, I don't even know how many school buses that he connected underground. And then, towards whatever around it, and made bunker where there's like an old timey barber shop and medical wing and, living quarters and all sorts of stuff. And then they have the millionaire ones that are like 28 stories down into these bunkers where they have self-sustaining fish and, vegetable farms and stores and, it's crazy. Live feeds to the outside. Some of these bunkers that they've made nowadays, though, are like luxurious bunkers that you can buy but can't live in unless there's a real issue. That they even hired like a company that checks the perimeter. It's crazy. It's crazy. But listen, any old bunker would do if something like that happened. I see a lot of politicians, flight disruptions because of the shutdown. I see a lot of, not much about really anything else besides Veterans Day and the government shutdown. There's just like tons of crap on the government shutdown, which is like, okay, that's nothing new. That's been happening for quite a while now. By Heart infant formula recalled after it sickened 13 children nationwide. That's not good. So in case you have By Heart baby formula, it was tied to an infant botulism case in Texas. They found a germ in it in the By Heart baby formula. Interesting. But how about that Patriots game last week that we won and everybody was like, oh, we're not going to win. It's going to be a hard game. Like, no, we're going to win. I was like, have ye faith in us Patriots. And what happened? Oh, that's right. We won. I was at the laundromat and I was like, people saying we wouldn't win. And here we are winning this game right now. I knew we would. So God damn it. Y'all got to have a little bit of faith. A little bit of faith in us. You know what I'm saying? Just a smidgen. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Sensitive satellite. Shockingly large amount of sensitive satellite data is encrypted, unencrypted, and vulnerable to interception, researchers find. Cybersecurity researchers. They have intercepted vast quantities of private voice calls and text messages, including potentially sensitive communications of government and military officials, transmitted over completely unprotected satellite communication links. Interesting. That's crazy. That is crazy. But then again, you have to think like all your devices are listening to it at some point. All your Amazon devices, all the devices. They're just always listening, if you ask my friggin' opinion. That's for damn sure. It's snowing? Don't say that. My friend who lives in New York is like, it's snowing here. No, I don't like it. I don't want it. Take your snow back, New York. You keep it. You keep it. Scorpio, is it snowing near you? No, she lives in a different part of New York, but is it snowing near you? God damn it. No snow here yet. So a little flurries this morning and never came back. Thank God. Thank freaking God. I don't want it. You guys can take your snow back. I'm not in for the coldness. I don't like it. Not a freaking fan. There's lots of shenanigans happening over on Twitter, as usual. Lots of shenanigans over there. There's always shenanigans going on over there, I feel like. Plenty of ridiculous attacks on people. Plenty of ridiculous nonsense. I was told, and I haven't seen this, but I was told yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that I was being accused of being some account that I've never heard of and didn't even know existed. Interesting. Like, yeah, except, yeah. I have one account. If you're that dumb at this point that you don't know that I have one account, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Also, I heard Crazy Christy was accusing my friend Julie of writing emails that she absolutely didn't write. And once again, Crazy Christy's wrong. And I don't know why she wants to blame random people. She always wants to blame Julie specifically because she doesn't like Julie. But stop blaming people you don't like simply because you don't like them. She had nothing to do with those emails. None of us did. None of us would go what we call real life and do that. That's, I mean, insane. Nobody's doing that. Like, the person who wrote the emails was clearly free Karen Reed at some point, or most of the point, and then, I don't know, flipped, or maybe they just don't like married. I don't know. Nonetheless, it's nobody over here. We don't do that shit. We don't write emails to people's jobs in school. It's weird, okay? It's weird and it's not necessary. It's fucking strange. I don't know why. Like, the fact that people even do that, it boggles the mind, okay? Boggles the freaking mind. But blaming Julie Ginto is just, like, so far beyond Delulu land, in my opinion, that we're like, you know what I mean? Julie had nothing to do with those emails. She wouldn't write emails like that. You nuts, dude? Like, come on. Stop it. Stop the nonsense. And then, oh God, there was the Twitter post this morning. You know? One conspiracy I wish was true. Planet X, but it's allegedly been proven not to exist. I thought Planet X did exist. More than likely it's someone within their own orbit. You know, they do love their conspiracies. You definitely, I don't know why. No idea. Apparently said it was either Jen McCabe or me. That's a wild, I've never even met or talked to Jen McCabe. I don't know her. I know the Alberts, McCabe's. So it was bonkers to me that you would even make a correlation of those two people. Never mind the fact that it's some account that I've literally never heard of and didn't even know existed. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I have one account. Yeah, the easy way is just to blame it on me, I guess. I don't know. I'm barely on Twitter. I literally get on there like one time a day, scroll a little, check my messages, maybe write a couple comments. And sometimes I'm not on there for multiple days at a time. So I highly doubt it's Jen McCabe. That's why it's funny to me. Like, I highly doubt it's her. And it's definitely not me, which means they're completely off once again. They just like to blame people that they don't like. That's the part that they, you know what I mean? They just blame people they don't like with no rhyme or reason. Their rhyme or reason is this person used this word and this person used this word, so it must be the same person. Or this person said their grandfather died of cancer and this person said their grandfather died of cancer, so it must be the same person. Like, that's your logic? For the love of God. Ooh, a black hole. That would be kind of cool, though. That would be kind of cool. I need to know more about, like, you know, black holes, and I wait for NASA to put stuff out on that. I mean, it's just so insane to me, the shit that they say. Like, it's nuts. But to just, again, be pointing fingers at people that had nothing to do with anything. Julie had nothing to do with those emails, nor would she. None of us would do something like that because it's fucking bonkers. It's not normal human behavior. Nobody does that. But this morning, the sewer turtle decided, hey, maybe we do live in a black hole. Wouldn't that be interesting? He decided to make a Veterans Day post, but a non-Veterans Day post? No, some weird FKR people. I don't even know. I was just told. I haven't seen it. I was just told, and I'm like, yeah, I have one account. Most people know that, and I'm barely even on there. But sure, blame another random account on me. That makes sense. Makes total sense. He made some post this morning, and it says, no bus stop live today due to Veterans Day. Okay, that would have been fine if it was just that, right? But he follows it with, speaking of, Happy Veterans Day to all who served our great nation, except for these three who disgraced themselves, their families, and their country by covering up the murder of a beloved police officer and father. And then he puts pictures of Yuri Buchanan, which, please someone explain to me how Yuri Buchanan covered anything. I would love for that explanation. Brian Higgins way back when, like, the picture is from God moons and moons ago. And I think Brian Albert. And it's like, you couldn't just make a Veterans Day post and just say, like, Happy Veterans Day, right? Because you have nothing else to talk about ever in life. So you have to follow it up with Happy Veterans Day, except to a bunch of people I want to blame for a bunch of stuff because I don't have anything else to talk about. Make it make sense, folks. I mean, I've thought about that. I have thought about that. Like, what if we were just in one big black hole? What if this was all AI? What if there's like a parallel universe thing? You never know. You never know, right? We could be inside a black hole, but how do you get inside a black hole is the question. How do you get inside of it? And can you get out of it is the other question. There's so many questions to the universe, you know? I mean, I don't know. There's just some crazy shit these people say. It makes no sense. By the way, Michael, I am looking at the picture that you posted 10 minutes ago, and I don't know if that's chili or not, but it looks delicious. I'm not gonna lie, that looks so freaking good. It's like crackers and like what looks like chili or beef. It looks so. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Like get sucked. I see what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're laying down. But per usual, and then we know that yesterday the judge in the other case that Alan Jackson took denied his motion to dismiss the murder charges against his client Fraser Bohm, who killed the 4 Pepperdine students in 2023, I believe it was. So the judge smacked that down. I think that's kind of how black holes work, right? It like rips things apart if it gets sucked in. Isn't that how it works? 10 minutes ago, NBC 10 says that one person has died after a house fire in Methuen early this morning. That is very sad to hear. That is very sad. Oh. Let's see. Oh, man. A lot of the stuff that I see, conspiracy dog walk, a lot of the stuff that I've been seeing lately is really concerning. Seriously concerning. It doesn't make sense to me how so many people sit there and then think that one really awful human being could force other people to do horrible shit. And it's unfortunate because there are so many people who have followed in the footsteps of doing awful shit just by this weirdo spewing a bunch of nonsensical bullshit that he wants people to believe just to cover his own crap. What sacrifice or contribution has a sewer turtle ever made to fucking society? I mean, does he feed the homeless? Does he, once a year donate? Does he, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but the dude shits on pretty much everyone on planet Earth, and everyone is a ratchet but him. He is what he writes about. If he weren't himself, he would be writing stories day after day after day about what a shitstorm this guy's life is and how he keeps making it worse for himself. And it's gross. He does have a hearing tomorrow in New Jersey. And as far as I see, and as far as I've looked, he actually, he's broken the order that exists and hasn't followed it. So, I mean, I don't know what the judge in New Jersey is going to say or do, but I mean, to be fair, I think everybody in Massachusetts is a little abrasive by nature. I don't think he has a defense at this point. I think I'm a little abrasive, but there's abrasive and then there's just being a shitbag in general, There's being a shitbag and there's spinning shit and there's hiding shit and the people, I feel honestly the worst for the people that get out there and defend him, that really get out there and just, paddling away hours and hours arguing with people defending him. And it makes me sad because I know that eventually some stuff's going to become public and they're going to be wondering why they didn't listen or why they didn't take people's warnings more seriously. And it definitely makes me feel sad for them because in a way, I've had many other people that have come to me and been like, I am really, really not only ashamed, but embarrassed of the things that I said and I did on his behalf, knowing what I know now, and I should have maybe listened to people instead of just defending him blindly. I've heard so many people say that I wish I had a quarter for every time someone said it. So it makes me think about all the people that are going to see, what's been hidden from them for so long, and it's going to be sooner than later that it happens, and then what? All of these people are going to feel the same way. That makes me sad for them, because I've tried to prevent that, but you can't. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, man. It's really just as simple as that. You can tell them, you can show them where to look for the information, you can tell them what's been going on, but to get them to listen or believe you or think about what they're doing or saying, it's a whole nother thing. You know what I mean? It just smells like terrible driver. I know a lot of people like that, tailgating everyone, jamming on the brakes. It drives me nuts. No walking today. It is cold. It is very, very, very freaking cold out today. I don't know. There's just so many things that I'm like, I wish people would listen, because it's going to save them a lot of heartache, And I get it, but it's one thing to want to lift people up, right? It's another to want to lift up someone that does so much harm, damage. He's a very angry person. He's very insecure. You can find something in pretty much every person's past if you wanted to. His problem is that he takes petty beefs out on mostly women, because I don't think he's man enough to constantly take it out on men, to be honest. And I think part of his problem is he gets jealous easily. He's, again, insecure. And instead of addressing those issues within himself, he tries to shit on other people. And you can't shit on someone else for being a cheater when you're a serial cheater, right? You can't shit on someone else for having or being a criminal or being charged with something when you're charged with more than a dozen felonies. You can sit there and say that you are wrongfully charged and it's all a big conspiracy, but every other person that you've talked about would say the same fucking thing. So what makes him better than anyone else he's written about or writes about? Nothing. And as a matter of fact, the shit that he does when the doors are closed, the cameras are off, make it 10 times worse. You know what I mean? Makes it fucking 10 times worse. When you are actively setting people up with making fake emails, making fake accounts, and bringing those things into court to try to claim they did something that they didn't do because you did it to yourself to try to get them in trouble, that's a problem, right? And he hasn't done it once, he hasn't done it twice, he's done it a multitude of times to a multitude of people. And why is the question? Well, normally it's to hide the things that he did do. He doesn't want the world to know. Well, why would you want the world to know unless you're hiding something pretty ugly? Well, there's a lot of ugly there. There's a lot of blackmail, threatening people. It is. It is. I mean, that's the reality, right? It's the reality. There's a lot of people that just say, well, it's just words. It's just words. No, it's not. It's not just words. If you knew what he was doing behind closed doors privately, you wouldn't say that, would you? No. If you knew he was actively threatening people and saying, you're going to do X, Y, or Z, or you're going to stop talking about me, or you're going to say this mean thing about this person, or you're going to say this, and this about this person that you like, but now you're going to say you don't, or I'm going to tell the world that you drunk drove in 2011 and I'm going to ruin your life. What do you think of him then? Because that's not something he's done once, twice, 3 or 4 times. It's something he consistently continues to do. Is any of that okay? Cheering that on? Would you be cheering it on if it was anybody else? That's the problem, right? Would you be cheering it on if it was someone else? It is truly disgusting. And I think the problem is where people try to minimize the effect that it has on people's real lives. Oh, it's just mean words on the internet. oh, it's just him, you can't handle him saying bad things, or oh, he's exposing people. Why doesn't he expose himself? Why doesn't he expose himself? I'll tell you why. He knows he would lose it all. And to that, it's more important that he keep those secrets and keep those things behind closed doors than lose it all, but continue to try to harm other people with doing the same nonsensical crap, right? And then you watch as the tides turn, right? All these people who loved Karen Reid, right? You see half of them now being like, F her, blah, blah, blah. Well, why do you think they're doing that? They're doing that because she did something, or are they doing that because he said she's bad? He doesn't even have to say it. All he has to do is say, you know, very cryptic things, which are like, well, she's, you know, always been that way, or she's, you know, that's not my story to tell, but, you know, there's some things going on there. She's always been that way. Like, that's all he has to say for people to try to make anyone be, quote, bad, right? You know? It's not even high ground, in my opinion. It's what's right and what's wrong. See, right? And I like to be very clear that there is no fucking side for me, right? There's what's right and there's what's wrong. There's what I believe and what I know, and then there's the rest. Noise, opinion, whatever, right? I am no side. I go to the beat of my own drum. There are plenty of things I do that anti-Karen Reid don't like. Oh well. I do what I think is right. You know what I mean? In this scenario, I'll tell you who it is. It's not him. It's not him. It's not him. It's not him. He tried to blackmail her in trial 1 simply because he didn't have a court seat and she wasn't going to save him one. And he got really angry. Got angry at that, and then it made him even more mad when Nick Rocco went on court TV. He tried to tell Nick Rocco that Nick Rocco could not go on court TV and he should deny going on court TV because Aiden couldn't. And Nick said, well, aren't we supposed to be getting the story out there? Doesn't matter how it gets out there, we tell everybody, right? It doesn't matter. We should all get the story out there. That's two completely different things. Saying that and then saying behind closed doors, like, you should say no to court TV because I can't go on there. That's not okay. That's jealousy. That's what that is. You can't expect people to do that. That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense. So he got mad that Nick Rocco was on court TV. Yep. Yes. And Karen wouldn't save him a court seat because he got her phones taken for the second time. And she was pretty pissed off at that. I had been pissed off at that too. And so he tried to threaten her into saving him a court seat. You're going to do what I want you to do, or else this, and this, and I'm going to go to Tully. And we know that happened, right? And then it got worse. He started doing more shady things to try to control what was going to happen. Now, his end game was he wanted her to sign on to these documentaries and book deals, and the problem was he was promising her to all these people that she would sign on. And so without her, those deals don't exist for him. And so he can't sign on to those deals because they don't want just him, right? And so when she killed that for him and said, no, I'm not signing on to that, he got even more angry and rage-filled and jealous and started doing other shit, like recording. Yeah, over a court seat. Well, over a court seat and Nick Rocco being on court TV. Those were the two sort of things. But think about them. How petty are those? How fucking petty are those? He hadn't gotten his credentials yet, right? So he couldn't get a court seat. You had to get in either with credentials or one side or the other. So he's pissed off. This is before he knew he was getting the credentials to get in. So there is none. You know what I mean? It's the low road and the lower road. I mean, it's what's right and what's wrong. And here's the thing. When you're not telling the truth and you're spinning things on purpose to make people think that you're just, there's going to be some great story behind closed doors when everything is said and done that you're going to tell. I will tell you how many times he's said, when everything is done and I can tell you the whole thing, you're going to be like, holy shit, at least a dozen times over the last 10 years. And every single time it's when he was hiding something that he doesn't want other people to know. I don't know anybody else who's running around trying to threaten people. I don't know anybody else who threatens to ruin every girl's life they've ever been with. Anybody else know someone like that? I sure as fuck don't. I don't know anyone else that tries to dig into people's lives that they just don't like to hide their own dirt. I don't know anyone else like that. The man needs serious help. Serious mental health help, in my opinion. All right? And it doesn't excuse the behavior, you know? I mean, the way he talks about certain people. This person cheated on their wife. They're a blah, blah, blah. Dude, do you forget you're a serial cheater? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? I think the part that bothers most people is it's hypocritical, right? Number one. Number two, all the shit you're doing that maybe people like you, none you don't know are happening. And this is why I give the heads up. These things are happening behind closed doors. People are condoning it. You're condoning it by sending him money and egging him on. And what do you think? Like, he's only hurting himself in the long run. But while he does that, he's also hurting other people. And those people don't deserve that. They don't. I don't care what skeleton someone has in their closet. Everyone has one. Everyone fucking has one, dude. You know? Right. And I feel like, but that should be like a normal thing, Nanya, right? Like, that should be a normal thing. Where if you're, nice to someone, they should be nice back, right? You don't have to agree on everything, but you can be civil, right? Well, he created a world where that doesn't exist. Civility doesn't exist. You're either on his side or you're against. You can't, there's no middle ground. You can't choose to watch other creators that he doesn't like and watch him and like him. It's him and him only or else. I don't know anyone else who acts like that. There's a reason, right? I do know people who act like that outside of YouTube, and they're called narcissists because all the attention has to be on them. And if it is not, they get jealous and they get petty and they get insecure and they lash out. And it's what we're seeing here. There is no reason, in my opinion, that the judge in New Jersey tomorrow wouldn't. I mean, the judge has reason in New Jersey tomorrow to hold him, even though it's not an in-person hearing. If they wanted to, he broke the order that exists right now. The other woman in New Jersey, and as far as I can tell, he keeps doing it. So, I mean, essentially, you don't want to spit in a judge's face. If a judge makes an order, just do what they're asking you to do until the thing is over, you know? If you willfully go against what the judge says on purpose, you're essentially telling the judge, I don't give a F about your authority, and I'm going to spit in your face, and you're going to do nothing. And do you think that the judge is not going to see that as a challenge? Come on. We all know about what you should or shouldn't do when it comes to a judge and a judge's order, you know? Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because I don't think anybody should feel like they are silenced, right? Because they've been harassed by Looney Tunes people that are calling their phones and texting them. Like, that's the kind of stuff that I deal with. And then you have all these other victims. People are calling their phones, they're texting their phones, they're threatening them, they're getting death threats. Like, all the stuff that I've dealt with, simply when he mentions your name. That's not normal, okay? And he knows what it's going to trigger every single time. There's a reason why, unlike me, I will tell people, do not go harass somebody that I talk about here. Do not contact them. Do not harass them. Do not do any of that, right? Have a good day, Jack. Don't do that shit, dude. It's not normal behavior, all right? We're fucking adults. You don't like someone, don't watch them. It's not that hard. It's really, really not that difficult. You don't like them, don't watch them, okay? Don't do it. There's a reason why he refuses to say that, and it's because, well, he wants them to. That's why. It's not rocket science here. You don't need to, once again, bring Einstein back from the dead to figure that out. Otherwise, he would say, please do not do these things. It's going to get me in trouble. And you're never going to see that happen, right? And unfortunately, eventually, shit catches up with you. Shit catches up with you eventually, dude. Karma is a bitch, and it will come back for you. I fully believe whatever you put into that universe is what you're going to get back. Sometimes it's not right away. Sometimes it could take a long time. But if you put shit behavior into the universe, that's where you're going to get shit back. It's kind of how it works, unfortunately. With that being said, Oh, God. Hold on. Sorry, I had to do something real quick. With that being said, let me see. I don't think. Let me see. I mean, probably could. I mean, probably could at this point. Our science has come to that. Come to that point. I don't know if Einstein has any hair left on his head at this point, but hey, he might. He might. He might. Gotta dig him up and find out. Wouldn't that be awesome if they could clone somebody like Einstein? I mean, that guy was smart. No? That guy was freaking smart. So I'm looking. I was trying to see if there was any more. No, that's not it. Damn it. No, that's not it either. Well, I can't find it at the moment. But nonetheless, tomorrow's Wednesday, and tomorrow he does have that hearing. So we've been here 2 hours and 23 minutes. I am going to eat lunch because I am starving. Spend a little time with my family. Fold some clothes because it's a pretty good day off today. Fold some of my freaking laundry, put it away. I love your stinking faces. I hope everybody had a good day and has a good day today. If you would like to donate to the channel, we have a bunch of different ways of doing so. We could definitely use the extra support and help. You know, we've had a rough 2 weeks. It's getting close to the holidays. We rely on all of you to help us keep it moving down the track here. So we have a couple cases coming up. Thank God, I've been doing a lot of extra research. I like to write it down. I can't put it on the computer and put it in the notes. I literally need to write it down with my hands to know where I want it to. You know, I got a code way of doing it. You know, I got highlighters and I got a whole thing. I just have to do it manually. I can't put it in notes on the. I can't. I have to do it. You know, I have to write it down. I'm old school like that. You know. But we have a couple of cases coming up that we're going to be covering. We're going to be going over a couple missing persons cases, some colder ones, to maybe try to help out a little and see if we can get some information out there, or we can jog the memories of someone that may be able to help when it comes to some of these cases. So I hope everybody has a good Veterans Day the rest of the day. If you're catching me on the restream or replay, we appreciate you. If you donate when we're not live anymore, we appreciate that as well, and we'll read it tomorrow. Hopefully we'll find out what happened in tomorrow's hearing tomorrow with him in New Jersey. We'll see what that judge has to say. In the meantime, you can get me on email. Some of you can get me on text message. You can always find me on sending me a message on X if you need me, or Facebook. I love your stinking faces, and I will see you guys tomorrow.